Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Sunday service of Now Creations. Just before we begin, just want you to know how nice it is to be here with you. Before we do anything, it's just nice to be in your presence, nice to be here with you, nice to acknowledge your goodness, your kindness. You are a wonderful, beautiful soul. Please never, never, never forget this. And know how blessed you are, not only within your own inner spirit, but also in bringing this goodness and joy to others. I do have a few announcements before we begin today. First of all, if you did not receive your spiritual guidelines packet in the mail, please let us know. That means you're not on our email list or on our address list, so please let us know so we can get that packet to you. Then secondly, we have two wonderful things occurring, especially in August. First of all, on Saturday, August the 15th, we'll be having a live online seminar entitled From Earthling to Cosmic Being. You should have received an email this past Wednesday on that. If you did not, or if you are not receiving our emails, please go to our website, nowcreations.org, and simply click on Online Seminar. And lastly, we're going to have a very exciting thing beginning on Sunday, August the 2nd. We're going to have an open forum session from 6 to 7:30 p.m. I just want you to know how exciting that's going to be for all of us. It's truly going to be an open forum. Any questions, anything on your mind, something to share. So, a lot of nice, wonderful events coming up. Let's begin, first of all, with me addressing you by thanking you for the honor of allowing me to address you here this morning. I just want you to know how personally edified I am by the goodness and love that so many of you are displaying in bringing heaven to earth, of bringing awareness to the planet. And I just want you to know how inspirational your actions are to me personally. You inspire me. I want you to know that. You inspire me. Having said that, I now want to introduce this week's teaching entitled Pleasure, Intense and Long-Lasting. This will be fun. I will begin with a teaching from one of my favorite Greek philosophers, then turn my attention to one of my favorite books, and then proceed to talk about my favorite energy. This will be a joyful experience this morning, and again, note-taking might serve you. First, one of my favorite Greek philosophers. It's not Plato or Aristotle this time, but a lesser philosopher named Epicurus. Epicurus was the one who gave us the phrase, eat, drink, and be merry today, for tomorrow you may die. And also he gave us the word Epicurean, which simply means a person of good taste. Epicurus is most famous for his statement that pleasure and pain are the basic motivators in life. Human beings act to maximize pleasure and to minimize pain. And he presents a very beautiful system to explain pleasure and pain as our primary motivators. However, there was one particular aspect of his teaching that really stuck with me over the years, and it has helped me in my personal search for that ultimate pleasure. Epicurus distinguished between the intensity of pleasure and the duration of pleasure. Intensity being how high the pleasure is at a particular moment, and duration, how long it lasts. Having taught college students for so many years where estrogen and testosterone were readily apparent, you could easily guess what most people thought about when it came to intensity of pleasure. In fact, many people even today think about sexuality as the intensity of pleasure, but as well as other pleasures from food to power. Yet, in all these pleasures, intense for the moment, there often lacked duration. they didn't last long enough. You can't have sex all day long. You can't eat food all day long. And even your power is susceptible to your own satisfaction and certainly the satisfaction of other people. So for me, it was always a search for not just an intense pleasure, but also one that was enduring, long-lasting. Now, of course, there were many other attempts to try to understand that intense, long-lasting pleasure, from loving relationships, raising kids, having a personal passion that you are pursuing, or simply education itself, that life is a lifelong learning. And yet, with each of these, there was a downside. Relationships often lost their bloom and ended up causing more pain. Children were wonderful until they weren't. Passion is very great, but oftentimes demands the cooperation from others and sometimes leaves you alone. And even lifelong learning, while sometimes it seems wonderful, at other times the mind seems very sterile. It looks for something else. Everything, initially quite promising and enticing, everything seemed on a long run to eventually have a downside. The pleasure could easily change into a pain. Well, you ask yourself the question, is there anything that has an all-the-time pleasure with a lasting joy? Could a pleasure be both intense and enduring? Well, of course there is. But first, let me review one of my favorite books, The Ultimate Journey by Robert Monroe. Monroe was always looking for what he called the missing basic. The missing basic. Was there something that was a bottom line? Was there one something that was truly it? Kind of like Epicurus looking for that pleasure that was both intense and long-lasting. As Monroe progressed in his life, he was able to visit other realities beyond the Earth, one of which was a planet that he had previously visited. He then tells of what made him leave the planet. What made him leave his home planet and to visit somewhere else, such as the Earth, was boredom. Boredom. Or, in his words, the same old repeated cycles. Even on advanced planets, the same old seem to repeat themselves, just like sex, food, money, and power become the same old for us, especially in a sense when they seem to have a downturn. I call these same old patterns the sickly cyclicals. The sickly cyclicals. You go through the same stuff every year, from New Year's Day to Valentine's Day to St. Patrick's Day to Tax Day to Mother's Day to Father's Day to the 4th of July to summer vacations to Labor Day to school starting to Halloween to Thanksgiving to Christmas, and then it starts all over again with birthdays, anniversaries, weddings, and funerals in between. It's the same old. Even religions do the same. First there's Lent, then Easter or Passover, and then Pentecost, and then Advent, and then Christmas or Hanukkah or whatever celebration. And then the cycle repeats. No wonder people feel like they're going in circles because they simply go in cyclicals. Of course, some will caution, if you don't learn from the lessons of the past, you are doomed to repeat them. To me, that's just another version of a cyclical. Your past is not your future. Your past will not determine your future unless you are trapped in the cyclicals. All right, Vince, what will determine your future? And is there something, a pleasure, that is intense and enduring, something that will break the pattern of the cyclicals? Yes, of course there is. So let me approach this first of all with a particular sense of an understanding that's very important for us, namely experience. Let me begin with an experience, then a saying, and then the real thing. First, the experience. I had a very, very good friend of mine who, whenever we would begin a conversation, would ask, "What's new? What's new?" And for quite a while, I would try to think of things that were new and fill them in on the latest details. And then I decided to take a different approach, especially as I began to grow in my spiritual awareness. So the next time he asked, "What's new?" I said, We are. We are. Every day we do new and loving things." I could tell that he was not too impressed with my enthusiasm or my answer. He wanted new things. But I was impressed with my answer, because I had noticed a truth. There was this presence within me that felt new each day, and oftentimes at each moment. Let me just say it again. There was this presence within me that felt new each day, and oftentimes felt new at a particular moment. With this newness in mind, I then realized a saying by Paramahansa Yogananda. Yogananda said, "The energy, the awareness within you is ever fresh and ever new." I know that many of you know that saying. This statement was very helpful for me, but there was still a connection that had to be made. The connection was that this ever new, ever fresh energy is me. I am what is ever fresh and ever new. Could this be what Epicurus was looking for when he was looking for a pleasure that was intense and enduring? And could this be, in a sense, maybe what Robert Monroe was looking for, to get out of the cyclicals? I believe it gives an answer to both of these things, and then a little more. First, let's give this ever new and ever fresh energy a name. You can call it a lot of things. You could call it the God Spirit, the Holy Spirit, consciousness, awareness, oneness, the now, so many names. I'm going to simply call it the presence. The presence. But with one incredibly important adjective. It is a conscious presence. It is a conscious presence, which means that you are aware of it. Let me say it again. It is a conscious presence, and each of us is aware of it. right here, right now, at this moment, you are consciously aware of an ever new, ever fresh presence that is you. There's more. Much more. First, this conscious presence is truly an all-the-time presence. It's with us all the time. Even when you forget that you are in the presence, it is still with you. And less are you forgetting this presence. And would you not at least say, it's becoming more and more of your most of the time sense of self. And it is certainly more you than your old personality sense of self ever was. Your conscious presence is the new you, ever fresh, ever new. Better said, it's the real you that you have always been. Thirdly, this conscious presence has the intense pleasure, say it again, it has the intense pleasure that Epicurus searched for. Now here's how it truly works. Follow me. When you are in this conscious presence, you are either joyful, happy, peaceful, or calm all the time. This conscious presence will give you exactly what you need at any moment. This conscious presence, I want you to know this, will give you exactly what you need at any given moment. When doing a nice thing, it elevates the nice thing into a greater joy. Whether you are loving a child or grandchild, or giving a zucchini to your neighbor, it intensifies your joy. Did you hear that? It intensifies your joy. It makes everything better. It doesn't depend on what you're doing. It just intensifies what you're doing. And you feel it within you. It is not dependent on the stuff, but it intensifies the stuff. Even in difficult situations, it gives you the knowing that you have brought the most appropriate solution to the situation, and you are calm and still, consciously present. It intensifies everything, but it doesn't get lost in anything. Is that not becoming clear to you? It intensifies everything, but does not get lost in anything. But Vince, is it long-lasting? Does it stand the test of time? Let's be clear. This conscious presence is the eternal you. This conscious presence is the eternal you. It's who you are. It lasts longer than the ever-ready bunny. Truly, your eternal you does not just outlast its competitors, namely the ego, but it is a forever you. Not outlasting a competitor, but a forever you. Well, I have another question. How do you know that it's eternal? I have the answer. Acknowledge it at any given moment and see if it shows up. If this conscious presence shows up every time you give your attention to it, if it shows up every time you give your attention to it, well, that's what makes it eternal. Do you understand this? You have to put it to the test. You have to simply ask yourself, hey, conscious presence, are you with me? And if you give your attention to it and see that it is, well, you have just greeted your eternal you. It's always there. Shows up all the time. You just need to give it attention. Let's now deal with Monroe's notion of boredom, so appropriate during these times of the coronavirus, with so many people so bored. Here's the key. This energy is ever fresh and ever new, even when it is doing nothing. This energy is fresh and new, even when it's doing nothing. You better explain this, Vince. I will. Listen closely. Even when your ever fresh and never new energy is doing nothing, it is content in itself. It is a joyful energy, period. It doesn't have to be doing anything. It is whole and complete in itself. It's as happy as a clam in its own shell when you simply give it your attention. But you must take the time to give it your attention and see if this is true for you. If you do take the time, and I know you will have discovered one of the greatest secrets of life. You don't have to be doing anything to be happy. Happy is who you are before you do anything. And anything you do will then be filled with this love. Do you realize what you are aspiring to? Happy, joyful, calm, peaceful, all the time. When doing something and when doing nothing. After a while, whether you're doing something or doing nothing, you'll simply understand there's no difference. You just are a happy camper. There's one last thing that I want to add. This conscious presence that is you has two freedoms. The first one is that it frees you from your past. Not just releasing you from your personal past, but also releasing you from all of the sickly cyclicals that keep you reliving the past, whether it be in family, society, and religion. And then secondly, as it frees you from the past, it frees you for the conscious creation of your future. It is the ever new, ever fresh energy that is moving you to create, to expand, to extend. Are you not feeling this? Are you not feeling that intuitive presence, that guidance within you to create a future, not from an old past, but from that loving, guiding presence within you. We are doing this. We are bringing heaven to earth. We bring awareness to the planet. In conclusion, there's a lot of information truly in today's teaching. In the coming week, I simply ask that you take the time to absorb it. Listen to this teaching a few times, and of course to the meditation. You are on the cusp of greatness. Your greatness. And your greatness is part of something even bigger, which will be the subject of next week's teaching. But for now, for this week, sit, absorb this conscious presence, intense and long-lasting, never boring, ever fresh, ever new. With that in mind, let me take you now into meditation, and what a joy to do so. Let's begin as we are wont to do by simply focusing on the breath, never underestimating the power of the breath. Just settle you. So let's begin with that natural breathing rhythm and allow your soul to come to the fore. Please begin. And let me suggest to you how quickly, especially because of the teaching and our joint coming together this morning, how quickly you feel good. And just notice that. You just feel good, although there's really a better word. But for right now, let's just notice how good you feel. Nice. The word I'm going to suggest more than just good is, I would think that all of us right now, right at this moment, we feel excited. Excited about something. See if that's not true. There's an excitement within you, more than just good, an excitement. Would you not say that it feels like something has been turned on? Something has been turned on. And it's you. Something within you is turned on. Do you not feel this? Let's put it to the test. Right now, do you not feel happy, complete, and whole? Do you not feel that right now, at this moment? Happy, complete, whole. And would you notice the intensity of this feeling you have right now? Notice how intense it is. Not with an intensity that comes and goes, but an intensity of being complete and whole. And especially, would you notice that you're not doing anything? And yet the pleasure is intense. You have to see this. And then you have to ask yourself, well, is this intensity that I feel at the moment, can it be long-lasting, enduring? You'll have to answer that question, but in this way. Give your attention to the presence and see if it's there all the time. It's pretty apparent that it's here right now, so maybe at 11:30, why don't you just say, are you here? Then maybe at noon you'll Might want to say, "Are you here?" And then don't be surprised if the answer is, "Are you here?" I am. Having answered Epicurus's question, very important to turn to Monroe's sickly cyclicals. What does the presence have to say to that? Two things. Stop reliving your past. Especially a past that was steeped in lower third dimensional energy. Stop it. Begin to create. Begin to create from your inner guidance. Create your future, not from the sickly cyclicals, but create your future from the genuineness of your conscious presence. It will tell you what you need to do. Would you notice again how good you feel right now, right at this moment? How good you feel. And you should. It's you. And how excited you feel. Just right at this moment. Excited. Optimistic. Looking forward. Anticipating. Expecting. And you should. You are in the presence. Intense and long-lasting. Never boring. ever fresh, ever new.
Deep within, peace resides, faith abounds, and love abides. The light shines bright to love without, love within. I honor thee, I honor thee. Namaste, I honor thee. I honor thee, I honor thee. Namaste, I honor thee. When you are where you need to be, within that space, I honor thee. Seen through eyes of illusion, seen through spirit, we are one. I honor thee, I honor thee, I honor thee. Namaste, I honor thee, I honor
that which we honor, namaste, is the presence around us, through us, within us, and in everyone. Never boring, ever fresh, ever new, intense, long-lasting, which enables us to say, I am an eternal being of light and love. Thus, only good can come to me, and only good can come from me. We are eternal beings of light and love. Thus, only good can come to us, and only good can come from us. Namaste, dear ones. Just namaste. May we just brighten up the world today. Namaste.